2024, Andy and I just kicked off the first race of the season at Sebring, Florida. Sebring was a new track for me. Andy had spent considerable time there over the past couple of years, but for me it was brand new. Everybody has heard about the mystique of Sebring. It can be a particularly violent track. Andy did very, very well. He set one of the records there for his qualifying time. We kicked off official practice on Wednesday of last week. We qualified P1 overall and P5 going into the Thursday-Friday race.
2024 started very differently than 2023, I'd say, for us, in terms of just having a car that we came into the weekend just, I don't know, for me personally, just knowing was going to be a fast, competitive car.
We've done all the pre-prep we could do, so now it's just about getting out there and performing. We've got an amazing car, amazing team, amazing new engineer. Andy and I can't say enough, and love our car. Now we just got to go put it to work.
When we got to qualifying, we were ready, and the car was fast. We were able to out-qualify everybody, not just our own class, and set a new track record for Trofeo. And Slade brought it home in P6 for qualifying on the Friday race. So, we thought we were in a really good position to take some points from this weekend.
Being able to come into the opening race weekend with that kind of confidence, where we made relatively minor setup changes, that's huge. It was a big step up for us going into the opening race weekend.
From the time I turned my first couple laps in the car in the test, I was just, man, this thing is really, really good right out of the trailer, which allowed Slade and I to just, focus on what we could do as drivers. On Thursday, we got a chance to start from the front of the field. It was a pretty cool feeling to have the entire field for the first race of the year in your rearview mirrors. So I was pretty excited to get to that race. My last overall pole was probably 2015. So it'd been quite a while, something I'm definitely not gonna forget anytime soon. And I wanna carry that into the rest of the season. But we started the race strong. We held the lead all the way to the pit stops, and got into a little bit of traffic on my last lap before I got into pit lane. Cost me a little bit of time trying to hand it over to Slade, which was unfortunate. But the rest of the stint was, I couldn't have written it any better. Everything kind of went to plan. So
We'd almost have a perfect pit stop though.
we did, yeah. And our pit stop was only 0.1 over the minimum. So we were really excited with basically the entire start of that race. Everything went to plan.
Then Slade got in the car and fucked it all up. I got into the car on Thursday and quickly got out and on pace. And some of my challenges showed themselves pretty quick. And it was principally turn 7 and turn 10. Turn 7 and turn 10 are very bumpy braking zones, and you have to get them just right when you're running a heavy car, which I was at the time because we still had a pretty healthy fuel load. In making the mistakes that I did make, it allowed a couple of class cars behind me to reel themselves in, and ultimately they did get around me.
Race 1 for Slade, I think, was just a learning curve deal. Just had to go through it. It was a good race for us, I think, for the long run in the season. We can look back on that, I think, as somewhere where you get stronger. And it showed itself on Friday.
Ultimately returned the car under the checkered flag in P5. I started Friday's race in P6.
Remember, you are behind the 27 on the left, and on your right will be the 66. They want you to pair up in turn 16.
Copy. I feel like I need a set of crayons to have all my instructions written down.
Green flag flew, and it was off to work. So during my stint, had some pretty good battles going on with the Gold car and the AJ Musk car. Unfortunately, in turn 3, I used Musk as a stopping barrier. Again, dealing with the bumpy nature of the track and how precise you have to be in your braking zone, particularly when you have a fully fueled car. This was a new thing for me. I've not experienced this at other tracks. We've not raced on a surface like this ever. It was just part of that learning curve that wound up giving him a slight kiss. But we battled it out throughout my stint, and I brought the car in for Andy. Again, we had an excellent pit stop. Andy got out, and he just went to work. About a third of the way into his stint, we heard over the radio that he was getting smoke in the cabin.
I got a bunch of smoke in the cabin. Not sure what's going on.
Copy that, copy.
Can you breathe okay? Yeah, I'm okay.
We didn't know what that was about, but pretty quickly we saw him disappear off of the race monitors.
And for a period there, it was getting worse and worse and worse. I was really stressed for a couple of laps. Finally, whatever it was that was smoking stopped smoking, and I looked up my driver ID. There's a light on it, had gone out. So I was like, okay, maybe that's just it. My helmet blower had stopped working. So I was like, it's just some small little things, no biggie. Car's still running fine, thankfully. Wasn't anything major.
We could not tell where he was on the track. And furthermore, in our pits, all the screens that we have to be able to visually see what's going on track, they also died. We could only see Andy every time he passed the front stretch. So it became very challenging. He pulled it off in the last lap, turned 15, got around the rear car.
Thankfully got to the end and had that one opportunity to go for it through Bishop's Bend, turn 14, 15.
And we didn't know until we saw him cross the start-finish line, and we got our first podium in third place for the 2024 season. We couldn't have been more excited about that.
We got a good spot there to start our season, so it is good. We had to wait a pretty long time into last season to get our first podium, so it's nice to get it the first weekend.
We've got some testing planned between here and Laguna. Laguna is our next stop for Lamborghini Super Trofeo. We couldn't be more excited about getting back to more familiar stomping ground for me, more familiar stomping ground obviously for Andy, and carrying on the momentum that we come out of Sebring with.